Oil tankers blocked in Hormuz. Price shock hits global markets. The headline flashes across every major news outlet. Television anchors wear worried faces. Footage of ships idling in long lines fills the screen. The world's heart skips a beat. In the Gulf, tension has erupted again. Military vessels patrol. The world holds its breath, watching the Strait of Hormuz. Governments scramble to respond. The price of oil jumps overnight. In boardrooms and households alike, the question is the same. How could one narrow strip of water matter so much? The answer is both simple and, honestly, pretty startling. This is not the first time Hormuz has dominated headlines, but every crisis feels new, urgent, and, well, potentially catastrophic. The Strait of Hormuz is a natural bottleneck. It sits between Oman and Iran. At its narrowest, it's just 33 kilometers wide, yet it carries nearly a fifth of all the world's oil. Each day, up to 21 million barrels of crude pass through here. Giant tankers from Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Kuwait, and others snake through this thin corridor. There's no room for mistakes, no easy detours. The strait is shallow in places, and currents are strong. The shipping lanes are even tighter, just 2 miles wide in each direction. Navigation is tense, 24/7. It is geography at its most unforgiving. Everything depends on this one fragile stretch of water. Disruptions at the Strait of Hormuz don't just affect the Gulf region or the countries immediately surrounding it. The impact of any blockage or threat here sends shockwaves far beyond these waters, rippling across continents and touching nearly every corner of the globe. The effects are felt worldwide, from the bustling financial centers of New York and London to the busy ports of Asia and the factories of Europe. The strait is a vital artery for global trade, and when it's threatened, the entire world feels the tremor. When ships can't pass through this narrow waterway, oil prices don't just rise, they can skyrocket overnight. It's not just about filling up your car. Oil is the lifeblood of modern economies, woven into everything from the plastics in your home to the food on your table and the flights that connect families and businesses. The uncertainty sends traders into a frenzy. Stock markets react instantly, often plunging as investors fear shortages and rising costs. The panic isn't limited to oil companies. Every sector feels the shock. Airlines face soaring fuel costs and make ground flights. Trucking companies struggle to keep deliveries moving. Factories slow down or even halt production as energy prices surge, sometimes within just a few days of disruption. For ordinary people, the consequences are immediate and tangible. Long lines form at gas stations as prices climb. Heating bills spike and grocery costs rise as transportation becomes more expensive. Families feel the pressure in their daily lives, at the pump, at the supermarket, and when paying monthly bills. The ripple effect is personal, touching millions of households. In response, governments scramble to reassure the public, releasing emergency oil reserves and coordinating with allies to stabilize supplies. Fuel trucks are dispatched, and officials hold urgent press conferences. Some nations even call for military escorts to protect vital shipments, sending warships and aircraft to safeguard the flow of oil through these dangerous waters. But these measures are only temporary fixes, stopgaps that can't address the underlying vulnerability. Each crisis at Hormuz is a stark reminder of just how much the world depends on this single narrow stretch of ocean. Leaders gather to discuss long-term solutions, but the dependence remains. Every time the strait closes, even for a short while, headlines flash across the world. Markets shudder and shipping lanes empty, underscoring the fragility of our interconnected system. The message is loud and clear. Our global supply chains are more fragile than we like to admit. The Strait of Hormuz is a single point of failure in a world that relies on constant, uninterrupted flow, a vulnerability that affects us all. After each crisis, new ideas surface. Among the boldest, build a new canal through Oman's Musandam Peninsula. The goal, bypass Hormuz entirely. The price tag, at least $100 billion. The logic is simple. If the strait is a choke point, create a second path. A canal would let tankers leave the Gulf without passing between Iran and Oman. It would be like rerouting a major highway, but on a scale almost too large to imagine. Supporters say it would give oil producers and the world a vital backup. If one route closes, the other stays open. In theory, it means less risk, more stability. But turning this idea into reality is another story entirely. The Musandam Peninsula juts into the Strait of Hormuz like a dagger, its rocky fingers slicing into one of the world's most important waterways. From above, the peninsula's cliffs look almost otherworldly, standing guard over the narrow passage between the Arabian Gulf and the open sea. Although Musandam belongs to Oman, it's a geographic outlier, cut off from the rest of the country by the United Arab Emirates. This separation gives Musandam a unique identity, both politically and culturally, as it sits perched at the crossroads of nations. The land here is wild and untamed, dominated by jagged mountains that rise sharply from the sea. These steep rocky slopes create a dramatic landscape that feels almost untouched by time, a place where nature's raw power is on full display. Only a handful of winding roads snake through these mountains, clinging to the cliffs and connecting isolated villages. Travel here is challenging, and the sense of remoteness is palpable. The cliffs plunge straight down into the turquoise waters below, creating a breathtaking contrast between stone and sea. The coastline is a mosaic of hidden coves and dramatic drops, where the land seems to fall away into the depths. The sea here is narrow, squeezed between the cliffs and the distant shore. The coastline is jagged and irregular, shaped by centuries of wind and waves, making navigation both beautiful and treacherous. For centuries, these mountains have served as a natural barrier, isolating Musandam from the rest of the Arabian Peninsula. They have protected the region, but also made it difficult for people and goods to move freely. Today, the stakes are higher than ever. Oil producers like Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Kuwait, and the UAE depend on this region. Their economies are built on exporting oil, and their access to global markets hinges on this narrow passage. Almost all of their oil exports, millions of barrels every day, must pass through the Strait of Hormuz. It's a vital artery for the world's energy supply, and any disruption here can send shockwaves across the globe. There are a few pipelines that offer alternative routes, snaking across the desert, but they're limited in capacity. These pipelines can only handle a fraction of the daily oil flow, leaving the region heavily reliant on the strait. This unique geography is what gives the Strait of Hormuz its immense strategic power. It's a choke point, a place where geography and geopolitics collide, shaping the fate of nations. That's why, time and again, engineers and politicians return to the idea of building a canal or finding new routes, no matter how daunting the challenges. The dream of bypassing Hormuz persists, driven by the region's vulnerability and the world's insatiable demand for energy. Building a canal through Musandam is nothing like digging Panama or Suez. Here, the mountains are high and the rock is, well, seriously tough. A canal would have to cut through 2,000-meter peaks. It must be wide and deep enough for the world's largest oil tankers, some over 330 meters long. Massive tunnels or locks might be required. The rock would be blasted, hauled, and dumped. The logistics are honestly staggering. It would take years, possibly decades to finish. Engineers would need to invent new machines. Safety would be a huge concern. One mistake could cost lives, or billions of dollars. Every meter dug is a battle. It's the kind of challenge that draws dreamers and scares realists. The price tag, $100 billion or more, makes this one of the costliest engineering projects ever. The environmental cost is also huge. Blasting mountains, dredging seabeds, and moving millions of tons of rock would change the landscape forever. Wildlife would be displaced. Coral reefs could be destroyed. Local communities would see their world transformed. The canal would need security, support towns, and new ports. Other canals, the Suez, the Panama, were also marvels of their time. Both faced disease, cost overruns, and political crises. Both changed shipping forever. But Musandam's canal would be even harder, and risks are higher. The world must ask, is this price worth paying just to avoid Hormuz? The technical hurdles are only half the problem. Politically, the stakes are enormous. Oman would have to agree and pay. Neighboring countries might object or compete. Iran, just miles away, would surely react. Terrorism, piracy, and sabotage would be constant threats. The canal would need military protection just like Hormuz today. Insurance costs could skyrocket. The region is already tense. A new canal might raise, not lower, the stakes. Oman has its own priorities: stability, tourism, careful diplomacy. It may not want to put itself at the center of a new global flashpoint. The world's thirst for oil is someone else's risk, Solving one problem could create others, just as dangerous, maybe even worse. Even if the canal were built, the risk wouldn't disappear. It would just move to a new location. A canal can be blocked, a mountain can collapse, politics can change overnight. The world would still depend on a narrow path for its lifeblood. The sense of security would be false. One choke point replaces another. The headaches remain. Pipelines have similar limits. They can be bombed or sabotaged. True security would mean multiple routes, diverse energy sources, and global cooperation. But habits are hard to break. The world keeps building its future around old, risky routes. The $100 billion canal plan is bold and desperate. It's a testament to human ambition, a sign of just how far we'll go to try and outmaneuver the limits set by nature. But it's also a reminder of our vulnerability and the lengths we must consider when geography stands in our way. This plan shows how much the world needs what the Strait of Hormuz provides. Every day, millions of barrels of oil and countless goods pass through this narrow waterway, fueling economies and shaping destinies far beyond its shores. It also reveals our deep dependence and our constant vulnerability. Geography doesn't just shape our choices, it defines the boundaries of what's possible. The world's most advanced technology and powerful economies are still at the mercy of a few miles of water hemmed in by mountains. A narrow gap between mountains and sea can hold the world's economy hostage. One incident, one blockage, and the ripple effects are felt everywhere. From gas stations to grocery stores, from Wall Street to small towns. No engineering can change that fully. We can build, dig, and innovate, but the fundamental realities of geography remain stubbornly in place, reminding us of our limits. We can shift the risk, spread it, and try to manage it, but we can never erase it entirely. Every new route or backup plan is just another way of acknowledging the power geography holds over us. As long as oil flows, as long as global trade depends on these routes, the world's attention will always return to Hormuz. It's a focal point, a pressure point, and a symbol of our interconnected fate. Our lives, our markets, our hopes and fears all travel through these choke points. The price of oil, the cost of goods, even the stability of nations can hinge on what happens in a place most of us will never see. The lessons are clear. Global trade is powerful, transformative, and essential, but it's never as secure as we pretend. The world's prosperity rests on fragile foundations, and the illusion of certainty can vanish in an instant. What happens in a tiny strait on the far side of the world touches every one of us, no matter where we live or what we do. Our daily routines, our jobs, and our dreams are all connected by invisible threads that pass through these narrow passages. That's the real headline, every day. A reminder that geography still rules, and that the fate of billions can hinge on a single slender stretch of sea.